Guys, it's Rebecca from Reflections from the Saddle. And recently I read a post about Danny Emerson was talking about, this whole aspect of not drilling, like not just going over and over and over an exercise. And it's really common in the horse world. And I happened to be at a clinic. This was a George Williams clinic about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. And George just kept going over and over and over the exercise, right? Because he really wanted the rider to get the feel. He wanted the horse to really understand what was going on. The problem with that is it takes all joy out of learning and all joy out of riding for the horse and for the rider. So how can we not drill, but actually teach our horse something? So because if you hear me talk a lot, I talk about this whole concept of not drilling an exercise, of not just, making it so laborious. And also I talk all the time about how to add that motivation and then that desire and that joy in your riding for your horse. I mean, that they're the ones that sort of take the brunt of our needing to learn something and needing to keep going over and over and over it until we get it. So I want to talk about one of the key things that I look at when I feel like I need to keep repeating an exercise to get it. And there's a lot of different ways to look at that. But this one I want to talk about today is really about breaking it down into those little tiny, teeny steps. If you've ever heard Mustang Maddie talk, because she does a lot of positive reinforcement, which I do too. It's all about that ability to put things down into really small steps that you can shape. And even if you're not going to be a total clicker trainer or a positive reinforcement trainer, that whole concept of shaping is just so valuable when it comes to horse training. And it's really kind of skipped over in traditional training. And you really start to see it when you get more into the positive reinforcement. Negative reinforcement people, pressure and release people are starting to really embrace this concept because it is so valuable. So if I want to teach something, I want to get a semblance of what I want in 1 or 2 tries. So if I'm not getting that, then I haven't broken it down small enough. And what this does is this gives a very successful feeling to the horse, and they're thinking ooh, I got that, right? And it keeps you from drilling. And what you'll find is that little tiny step builds a lot faster than if you were to drill a large chunk. So we don't want to chunk things up here and make them a leap to do. We want to actually make it such a small step that it's like a baby step and it's super easy. And so next time you go out there and you're working with your horse on something new, I want you to go through the mental exercise of how many small steps can you make this, before it's a big, so that your horse can totally understand it. So before it gets to be a big step, how many times can I take that step and divide it by 10? And then if I take one of those steps that I divided by 10, how can I divide that by 10? Right? So the perfect example is a lot of times if you go to your trainer and you say, I want to teach my horse blank, your trainer kind of looks at you like you're crazy, and then usually backs you up about 10 steps and works on one of those pieces. And then you're a little bit frustrated because you're yeah, but I wanted to learn blank. And the problem is that your instructor knows that you can't jump that far yet. So they're breaking it down into those small steps. And we have to do that same thing for our horses. So a perfect instance of this is when you talk about the hard things like teaching piaffe or pirouettes or flying changes, everybody wants to get to the actual steps of doing those exercises. But if you break that one of those down, right, into 100 steps, it's actually quite easy for your horse to do like 1/100th of that. And that's that's the ticket. Like that's how you don't drill, because you can just get that 1/100th of a step 1 or 2 times in a training session and you're done. And then you can repeat that in like, and the funny thing is like, so you can repeat that again, but the funny thing is when you break it down that small, you don't have to repeat it a lot. What you'll find is that you'll come back to it later and the horse is like, yeah, I totally got that. I totally understand that. Like that is, I got it. And even if they like, you feel like, okay, that 1/100th of a step was maybe not quite so like clear when you did it. Like, did the horse really, did they just offer that? Or did they really understand what I was asking? There's this like really weird phenomenon, especially when you use reward-based training, that the horse actually like goes away and like thinks about it and comes back knowing it better later. And it's just the way that the neural pathways are made in the horse's brain. It's not actually that they're like studying it in their stall at night, but it's totally a phenomenon that you can experience. So I really want to encourage you, just whatever you're having problems with, don't just drill it over and over and over and over again. It just totally deflates the horse's spirit. It frustrates you. It takes all the joy out of riding, which is just like something that that's why we do it, because we enjoy it and we want our horses to enjoy it too. And one of the key steps of that is to break it down in such the tiniest little steps that it's easy and the horse can pick it up really quickly and you don't have to repeat it over and over and over again. And you'll find if you do this, if you really take the time to maybe think about your rides long before you're actually getting to them and take these steps of like dividing it down into 1/100th or 1/1000th of what you're actually looking for, when you take that time, that you'll find that actually the process goes a lot faster. Okay, so that's my thought today on how to not drill your horse and still feel like you're making really steady progress into and for the goal that you want.